Hey, I need you to stop for a second, right now. Just pause. I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine a door in your life. You've seen it 100 times, maybe walked past it, maybe even knocked on it once or twice. But you never opened it. Why? Maybe you were scared. Maybe you didn't even notice the handle. Or maybe you thought you already knew what was behind it. Here's the thing. I promise, this isn't some cliché spiritual mumbo-jumbo. What I'm about to tell you could shift everything. Everything you've believed about life, about God, about yourself. It could change in ways you never expected. And here's the question I need you to wrestle with right now. What if everything you've been searching for isn't out there? What if it's been inside you the whole time? You feel that weight, don't you? That nagging feeling that something is missing, that deep pull in your chest that whispers, there has to be more than this. Maybe you chase it with books, advice, meditation, or prayer. Maybe you sit quietly at night, staring at the ceiling, asking, begging for some kind of sign, some kind of proof that you're not alone. I get it. I've been there. And I want to be honest with you. I know that feeling, that restless ache. It's like your soul knows something your mind refuses to believe. You're not imagining it, you're not weak, you're not failing, you're awake. And that's exactly why you're here, right now. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt a true connection to God? Or to whatever you think God is? Not the rules, not the sermons, not the rituals, but the real, undeniable, heart-stopping presence. Chances are, it's been a while, maybe decades, maybe never. And if that's the case, you're not alone. Millions of people walk through life feeling like they're playing hide-and-seek with God, and the worst part, they don't even know it. And I'll be blunt, that's the problem. Most of what you've been taught about God, it's only part of the story. Sometimes it's twisted, sometimes it's watered down, and sometimes it's completely misleading. You've been looking at the wrong map, and the map doesn't matter if you don't know where the door is. So here's what you need to hear. God isn't hiding from you. You're just looking in the wrong places. You might be thinking, I've prayed, I've read, I've done everything. Why haven't I seen it yet? And the honest truth, God has been waiting for you to see something else first, something subtle, something quiet, something you've ignored because it didn't look like what you expected. You see, most of us spend our lives searching outwardly for answers. Through success, love, money, achievements. We think if we just get enough of these things, the divine will finally show up. But here's the cruel twist. The more you chase externally, the further away the understanding moves. Let me mirror this for a second, because this is where it gets personal. I want you to feel this as if I'm talking to you alone. Not the millions of people out there scrolling past, not the ones who get it. You. Remember that time you felt completely unseen? That moment when your heart screamed for understanding and the world just didn't answer? That feeling like God might actually be silent, or worse, like you're not worthy of hearing? Yeah, that exact ache, that's not by accident. That's the signal, that's the compass pointing you inward. And if you can feel it, if it makes your chest tighten just a little when you think about it, that's because this is the moment your real journey begins. You might be afraid right now. That's okay. Fear doesn't mean you're wrong, it means you're alive. Fear is the heartbeat of transformation. And trust me, what you're about to see, it will scare you, but in the way that makes you want to change. Let's take a breath here. I want you to really think, what would it mean if God isn't what you've been told? What if the rules, the rituals, the must-dos are all misdirections? What if God has been speaking to you all along, but in a way you never recognized? Here's the truth. Nobody will tell you outright. God speaks most clearly in the silence you try to avoid. Not the noise of the world, not the clamor of advice or opinions, not in the grand displays or arguments about religion, but in the quiet corners of your life, in the tiny moments when you think nobody's watching. That's where the key lies. And here's the kicker. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to deserve it. You don't need to be perfect or know everything. You only need to see it. You only need to open your eyes. And that's why I called this the final key. Because all those years of searching, of praying, of wondering if you'll ever understand, everything has led to this one moment. One simple shift in perception that unlocks everything. One realization that transforms confusion into clarity. One insight that makes you stop and maybe even gasp, because suddenly it all makes sense. I can't tell you everything right now. That would ruin the journey. But I can tell you this. The door is closer than you think. And the handle? It's been in front of you this whole time. Now I want you to imagine something daring. Imagine standing before that door. Imagine reaching out your hand. Imagine turning the handle and stepping inside. What do you see? What do you feel? What if what's waiting on the other side is not what you expected, but exactly what you needed? I know you're skeptical. You should be. Real transformation isn't easy. Real understanding doesn't come from platitudes or half-truths. It comes from courage, from honesty, from looking at your life with brutal, loving clarity. So ask yourself, what have I been ignoring in my life that could finally open this door? Is it fear, doubt, pain? Or maybe something beautiful you've been too blind to recognize? Here's the promise. If you keep reading, keep listening, keep feeling, by the end of this journey, you're going to see God in a way you never have before. Not in the abstract, not in the distant clouds, not in some faraway heaven, but here, right now, in the raw, messy, complicated life you've been living. And that's what makes this journey terrifying and exhilarating at the same time, because seeing God this way changes everything. It changes the way you move. It changes the way you love. It changes the way you see yourself. So, are you ready to take that first step? Are you ready to open a door you didn't even know was locked? Are you ready to finally find the key that has been inside you all along? Because here's the thing, you can't rush it. You can't force it. You can't trick it. You can only notice it. You can only be brave enough to see it. And when you do, your world will never be the same again. So I want you to ask yourself this, right now, in this very moment, if the key has been in front of me all this time, what am I too afraid to see? Hold that question, let it sit, let it breathe, and when you're ready, turn the page, step through the door, and let me show you what's waiting on the other side. Because what I'm about to share with you isn't just a thought, a theory, or a feeling. It's the final key, the one that unlocks everything, the one that transforms searching into knowing, doubt into understanding, and fear into awe. And when you see it, you'll know. All right, let's take a moment and settle in, because what I'm about to share, it's going to make you question everything you thought you knew about God. See, most of us think understanding God is about memorizing rules, following rituals, or being good enough. But the truth, that's the easy trap. That's the comfort zone that keeps the door closed. Here's the first truth I need you to hear. God isn't complicated. You've just been overcomplicating him. Yeah, I said it. Stop. Let it sink in. I know you've been told that God is mysterious, unreachable, beyond comprehension, but here's the kicker. God isn't hiding in some puzzle. God is showing up in the parts of life we tend to ignore. Think about your life right now. The mundane, the ordinary, the moments nobody notices, the ones that feel small, even meaningless. That's where God lives. Not in the extraordinary, you already chase that, but in the overlooked, the everyday, the quiet. Let me mirror this for you personally. Think back to your last week, the moment that made your heart tighten, maybe a glance, a conversation, a sudden rush of feeling. That's not coincidence, that's a whisper, that's a thread leading straight to the divine. But how often do we notice it? Rarely. Most of the time we dismiss it. We shrug, oh, it's nothing, or I'm imagining it. And in that dismissal, we miss the key. Now here's a question I want you to wrestle with. If God has been speaking all this time, how will you know when you're finally listening? Because here's the trap. God doesn't always speak loudly. In fact, most of the time, God's voice is subtle, almost invisible, almost imperceptible. And that's why so many of us feel disconnected, abandoned, or unheard, not because God is silent, but because we're too busy waiting for fireworks, thunder, or a neon sign in the sky. Let me tell you a story, and I want you to picture this as if it's happening to you. Imagine someone who's been searching their entire life, praying, studying, looking for proof, chasing signs, and yet nothing seems to answer. Until one day, they stop, just stop. They sit quietly, and in that pause, something shifts. It's a small thing at first, a thought, a feeling, a spark of clarity, a realization that hits so gently it almost slips away if you're not paying attention. And in that moment, everything they've been searching for begins to feel different, real, close, possible. That's the key. That quiet moment, that pause, that's where God becomes undeniable. Not in arguments, not in logic, not in chasing certainty, but in stillness, in noticing, in allowing yourself to finally see. I know that's hard to hear. You've been taught that life is action, hustle, results, that faith is measured by what you can prove or achieve. But the irony, the door to understanding God opens when you stop trying so hard, when you stop pushing, when you stop demanding answers, and instead simply begin to observe, feel, and notice. And here's the truth I want to impress on you. God meets you where you are, not where you think you should be. You don't have to climb a mountain. You don't have to achieve enlightenment. You just have to be present. Now, let's make this personal again. Think about your own life. That one part you're ignoring, the pain you refuse to feel, the joy you don't let yourself embrace, the truth about yourself you hide, even from your own reflection. That's it. That's where the key is hiding. Most of us spend our lives running from ourselves. We chase external validation. We chase recognition. We chase comfort. And in doing so, we're running straight past God. Because God isn't outside. God isn't in approval, money, or status. God isn't out there somewhere waiting for you to deserve it. God is in you, right there, in your heart, your doubts, your questions, your struggles. Ask yourself, what part of myself have I been avoiding because it feels too real, too raw, too scary? Whatever it is, that's exactly where the final key is. And here's something most people will never tell you. The path to God is paradoxical. It's backward, counterintuitive. You can't reach God by trying to control, manipulate, or predict. You reach God by surrendering, by letting go, by stepping into the unknown with an open heart. Now I know what you're thinking. Open heart, surrender. That sounds nice, but how do I actually do that? Here's the simplest, most overlooked step. Notice yourself. Notice your breath. Notice your thoughts. Notice the spaces between your feelings. Notice what makes your chest tighten, what makes your eyes water, what makes you laugh without reason. Notice it all. And here's the wild part. The more you notice, the more God shows up. Not as a lecture, not as a command, not as judgment, but as a presence so undeniable you can't ignore it. Think about that. What would it feel like if God were not a concept you chase, but a presence you experience? One that isn't outside, isn't distant, isn't conditional, but here, now, constantly, waiting, patient, inviting you to finally see. Here's a question. Here's a question to carry with you. If God is already here, what is it that keeps me from noticing? Because here's the reality. Everything that distracts you, fear, doubt, pain, busyness, expectations, is a veil, a thin layer that makes you think God is elsewhere. But the moment you lift it, the final key reveals itself. And that key is shockingly simple. It's not a formula, it's not a technique, it's not a secret chant. It's you, not some perfected version, not some worthy version. You, in your raw, messy, imperfect humanity. That's the doorway. That's where the connection lives. I want you to imagine something again. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, not just any mirror, but one that reflects your soul, your deepest self, without lies or masks. And in that reflection, you see a spark, a light, something alive, something divine. That spark, that's the key, that's God waiting for you to finally recognize it. And here's what's beautiful. You don't have to do anything extraordinary to access it. You don't have to earn it, prove it, or understand it fully. You just have to see it, just have to allow it to be, just have to let yourself be seen by it. Now, I know this might feel strange, radical, almost impossible, and that's because it is. Transformation always feels impossible at first. But that's why the next chapter, the next step, matters so much, because it shows you how to move from noticing to truly feeling, and from feeling to finally knowing. And before we go there, I want you to ask yourself one more time, deeply, honestly, what am I holding back from myself that keeps me from seeing God in this moment? Hold that question, sit with it, feel it in your chest, let it linger. Because in the next chapter, we're going to explore how that spark, the one you see, the one you've been ignoring, can ignite the entire path to understanding God. And here's a little cliffhanger for you, something to keep your heart racing while you pause for this moment. What if the part of you you've been avoiding, the part you think is broken or unworthy, is actually the final key itself? Think about that. Really let it sink in, because once you see that, there's no turning back. And the journey, it becomes inevitable. All right, you're still here. That tells me something. That tells me you're ready. And if you're ready, then what I'm about to share could change everything. Because here's the truth most people never get. Understanding God isn't about learning more facts. It's not about memorizing scripture, performing rituals, or being good enough. Those things might help you feel safe, but they don't unlock the final key. The final key is simple, but it's so simple that it scares people. It's so simple that we dismiss it, ignore it, or overlook it. And yet, it's the single thing that turns searching into knowing, longing into feeling, doubt into clarity. Here's the first tangible step, and I want you to hear me carefully. You must stop running from yourself. I know that sounds weirdly basic, or maybe even impossible, because you've spent your whole life running from pain, from fear, from shame, from the parts of yourself that feel unworthy, and it's understandable. Who wants to face those parts? Who wants to admit that the parts they hide might actually hold the answers they've been chasing? But here's the paradox. The very thing you've been avoiding, your raw, messy human self, is the doorway to God. The key isn't outside you. It isn't in rituals, prayers, or rules. It's in the parts of you that you've buried, ignored, or judged. So, the first step, turn toward yourself. I want you to do something right now. Pause if you can. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. And just notice yourself. Not the image you show the world, not the version you think is acceptable, but the real you. The one that laughs too loudly, cries too easily, doubts too much, dreams too wildly. That person, that's where the key lives. And here's the thing, When you start looking inward like this, it's not comfortable at first. It's messy. It's unsettling. You'll see your fears, your mistakes, your regrets. You'll see the parts you've hidden from others and even from yourself. And that's exactly why it works. Because God isn't in comfort zones. God isn't in perfection. God is in authenticity. God is in courage. God is in the willingness to finally be real. Think about your life. I want you to reflect for a moment. How much of your energy goes into pretending, performing, or hiding? How much of your time is spent trying to appear okay when inside you're anything but? That's the doorway you've been avoiding. That's the threshold you need to cross. Here's the secret nobody tells you. Every fear you've been running from is a doorway to God. Every doubt, every shame, every pain you try to escape contains a spark of the divine. It's in the shadows of your life that the light of understanding waits. And this is where the real work begins. Because the next step isn't just noticing yourself, it's embracing the parts you've rejected. Think about that for a second. Not just seeing, but embracing, feeling the pain, feeling the fear, feeling the doubt, feeling the longing. Let it all rise up and say hello. Let it sit with you. Don't push it away, don't rationalize it, don't fix it, just be with it. And here's the astonishing thing, when you do that, something shifts. You start to notice a space opening inside, a space that wasn't there before, a quiet, still, undeniable presence. That's God. That's the final key beginning to turn. And the more you allow yourself to feel fully, honestly, the more that presence grows. Let me be blunt. This is not easy. This will hurt. This will make you uncomfortable. And it might even scare you. Because seeing yourself fully, without masks, without excuses, is like staring into a mirror that reflects both shadow and light. But that reflection, that's not judgment, that's revelation. That's the divine waiting for you to recognize it. Here's a question to hold with you. What would it take for me to stop hiding from myself, even if it's scary, even if it hurts? I want you to feel that. Really feel it. Let it sit. Let it challenge you. Because the answer to that question is the bridge between searching and understanding. That's where the transformation begins. Now, here's something powerful that most people never grasp. God is already in you. Not someday. Not if you're good enough. Not if you fix yourself first. Already. Waiting patiently for you to notice. Waiting for you to turn toward yourself and say, "Here I am. I see you. I accept you. I feel you." And that's what makes this so radical. You don't have to do anything extraordinary. You don't have to perform miracles, follow rules, or prove your worth. You just have to be brave enough to be real, brave enough to feel, brave enough to notice the parts of you you've been avoiding. Think about your own life again. That one fear you've been running from, that one regret you can't stop replaying, that one desire you're too ashamed to admit, that's where the final key is hiding. And when you face it fully, with courage and honesty, the door opens. Here's the truth. The path to understanding God is counterintuitive. It's backward. It's not about climbing higher. It's about diving deeper. Not about reaching out, but about turning inward. And the more you turn inward, the more God becomes undeniable. So, what does that look like in practice? How do you actually take this first step? 1. Pause your life for a moment. Stop rushing, stop distracting yourself, stop trying to escape. Even if just for a few minutes, sit with yourself. 2. Notice everything. Your breath, your thoughts, your feelings, the tension in your chest, the tightness in your stomach, the flutter in your heart. Observe without judgment. 3. Welcome what you find. Whatever comes up, fear, shame, longing, desire, say, "I see you. You are part of me. You are welcome here." 4. Sit with it. Don't fix it. Don't analyze. Don't resist. Just be. and notice the space that opens inside, that quiet, still, undeniable presence. That's the beginning of the final key turning. And here's the astonishing thing: you don't have to get it perfect, you don't have to do it right, you don't have to understand it fully, you just have to do it. The act of noticing, the act of embracing, the act of turning inward, that's enough. That's the doorway, that's the spark, that's the final key beginning to work. Let me ask you this: if you were brave enough to fully face yourself right now, what might you finally see? Imagine it, really imagine it. The fear, the shame, the longing, the desire, all of it sitting in front of you, waiting to be acknowledged. And in that acknowledgement, the spark ignites. And here's the cliffhanger I promised. Once that spark ignites, the world doesn't look the same anymore. Life doesn't feel the same. God doesn't feel distant. God feels immediate, present, alive. And the more you practice this, turning inward, noticing, embracing, the more that spark grows until it illuminates every corner of your life. That's the power of the final key. That's why it's called the final key, because nothing else you've done, no prayer, no ritual, no search, can replace this moment, this turning toward yourself, this noticing, this embracing. So, here's the final reflective question for you in this chapter. If everything you've been avoiding is actually the key, are you ready to face it? Fully, without excuses, without fear, without delay. Because once you say yes, there's no turning back. And when you do, what happens next is where everything changes.